As I explained in the advisory, the mayor wants to talk for a little bit, so I will let the mayor take over at this point.
Hey, how are you all doing down there?
The troops are they're a little bit road weary, but I asked them last night if they wanted to go home if they were tired. They said absolutely not, and I think I would have had a riot on my hand. They are doing outstanding
That's
work.
the spirit. That's the
Yep,
spirit.
exactly.
Is this Brad?
This
Is
is
Brad?
Mr. Mayor. It is
Yeah.
Brad, yes.
It's nice talking to you. Thank you for getting us organized down there, and thank you also for letting me say a couple of things at the beginning of this interchange, because I know that task force members down there have been hard at work and are probably hard at work right at this moment in time. We've all been following the situation in Texas and following Nebraska Task Force 1 on social media, and I can't tell you how proud everybody in the city is with the outstanding efforts and the heroism you guys are showing down there in Texas. You know, saving lives, public service doesn't get any better than that, and you guys are in that business now. So you're doing an exceptional job of representing your agency, your city, your cities, I guess. We are coming from several cities in Nebraska, as I understand it, and the state and the entire nation. So I just wanted to intrude on your duties a couple of minutes here to say thank you on behalf of all the citizens of Lincoln for your hard work and dedication, and to thank your families publicly for the sacrifices they're making on this occasion, and to also thank all of the first responders here at home who are taking up the slack and keeping us safe here at home while you guys are serving the nation. So, Chief, as you've reminded us, this is a marathon and not a sprint, and we don't know how long you guys are going to be deployed down there, but we'll continue to pray for your safety and for as long as you're away, of course, and ask you to be sure and take care of yourselves and take care of each other and keep up the outstanding work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and sincerely appreciated those great words. And I will make sure and I pass it along to Nebraska Task Force 1, the troops in the field, the task force leaders, and that, so that they can hear your sentiments as well. So it's really appreciated, and thank you for taking some of your time to share those thoughts.
All right, we're still attached to you in the deepest and most meaningful ways. So take care. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right, we'll go on with the regular part of the briefing now.
All right. So
Brad, we'll let you kind of just give us a start here.
I'll give you the last 24-hour situational status report, if you will. So the task force still remains in the Katy, Texas area. They're still in the rescue mode, the IA or initial attack mode, making rescues there. That they're in the vicinity of, if you're following the media, the Barker and Addicks Reservoir and that I-10 corridor with water roughly 2 to 8 to 10 feet deep. They're, as we speak, they have been punched out to that same location and are operating there as well today because the water continues. That is a drainage basin for the greater Texas area outside of the metro, all draining in there as it makes its way, and it's continually starting to back up. So they are working back in that area today. Yesterday was a great day for them. They were able to make the difference, especially in the lives of a 92-year-old lady. Call came in that she had been living in 2 feet of water, bedridden, laying in water for the past couple of days, and had finally got able to get out to 911, and which the call was routed to Nebraska Task Force 1. They formed a 15-person rescue team and launched their boat and was able to get into her house in conjunction with Houston's Emergency Medical Services to get her extricated out of the water into the hands, back obviously to safety into the hands of Houston EMS and at the hospital. And it's my understanding she is doing well. So great effort, and definitely made a life-saving, a life save, if you will, in that respect. Additionally, you got Nebraskans helping Nebraskans. They came across Alicia Tony. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Just out of nowhere, happened to be wearing a Nebraska hat. She happened to recognize, I believe, the Nebraska logo on their equipment, and she became integral part of knowing intimately the area that they were operating in, and led them directly to, or was able to point out exactly how to get to an apartment complex where they evacuated 40 individuals from. So without running across her, as fate would have it, it was able to expedite their mission a lot quicker than trying to find your way when there's no street signs, no geographic markers, and being able to go exactly where they needed to go and to expedite those extrications as well. Yesterday, they had a total of 3 rescues, 82 evacuations, and 11 pets. So things are starting to slow down as a lot of people have been either evacuated, rescued, getting out of the area and stuff. So hopefully the call volume in that area will slow down. But as most of you, if you've been watching the news, know that the San Jacinto River is over its bank and broke a levee today and is flooding some other housing areas, but 2 cities, as we speak, are currently becoming almost completely underwater. They are doing fine. They are still at the same location. There's actually 16 of the 28 task forces located at their base of operation. And those that are familiar with wildland firefighting, it is run like a wildland firefighting camp, where camp kitchen, shower facilities, laundry facilities will all be brought in staged and set up today. So they should be able to begin doing laundry, showering in bulk, although they have access. They're currently staying in a classroom section of the community college is where they're at. So they have some individual classrooms. They've set up their cots. Their base. They'll always have signs to tell you which state task force is down which hallway or upstairs, and they have meeting rooms in the library and so on and so forth. So they're kind of making themselves at home. And in true firefighter fashion, we all know that firefighters have some great cooks. And instead of eating the MREs, they were able to locate the campus bistro that had a kitchen in it. And if they can get somebody to find a store that's open, them and 4 or 5 other task forces will pull together and begin to cook meals so that they can have a hot meal until the camp kitchen shows up and begins the process of it fully operational, hopefully yet this evening. So no update on any demobilization time frame, as we're still in rescue mode. Obviously, if you're watching the news, and you'll see that it is getting extremely heavy rains on the east coast of Texas and the west coast of Louisiana around the Orange City area. It's taking on water, and the threat of any more water comes to Houston, this event could repeat itself all over again. Because nothing is so saturated. Reservoirs, retention ponds are so full that there's nowhere for the water to go but back into neighborhoods. With that said, that is probably their latest situational update, if you will. And if I did not mention that the chemical plant did explode, had some explosions. They went off middle of the night. There was no threat to the base of operations or to the area of operation that Nebraska Task Force 1 is working. There was a report of some officers that inhaled some fumes during the explosion, but it's my understanding that all but 2, and by now probably all of them, have been released from the hospital. So it did go, it is burning, and our hazmat professionals are looking to make sure that no one is in peril from that. It's a good 30 miles away from where the base of operation and the task force is working. So that is the situational update as of now.
Hey, Brad, this is Chief Despain. Can you maybe fill in on our functions with the decon, how we're deconning? One of the issues that we were concerned about was saying that the water is just contaminated, and so our folks are working in that every single day, and just the extra work we have to do for the decon process.
Mm-hmm. So the best way to describe, if you were to take, and I'll maybe put it in the visual, if you took a big high school or community college parking lot, like maybe Southeast Community College for an example, and you put law enforcement at every entrance and exit except one, and every vehicle and person that comes in goes through one exit, and your vehicles are deconned, that they're sprayed down the tires, the undercarriage with the solution, and hosed down before they can get past that checkpoint. All personnel are done the same. They go through a field decon before they get into their vehicles with some simple green solutions, scrub brushes. Every task force has hazmat personnel on site deconning them, their boats, their equipment. We've got federal task forces like Nebraska Task Force 1 that is just hazmat related, so they deal with the decon issues. So we're not tracking any of that nasty stuff, because we're all aware this is heavy in industrial and chemical plants being along the coast, that decon is imperative that we get it done correctly. So no one is allowed into the base of operations. They go through almost like a truck weigh station, if you will, but instead of weighing on the scale, they are stopped. Every vehicle tire is deconned and cleaned. They move forward, and then the shower facilities will be set up somewhat close proximity to that, so folks can actually shower prior to even entering or being close to where their task force equipment or their sleeping, eating, and stuff quarters are.
Riley Johnson of the Journal Star. Just a follow-up about the apartment complex rescue. Where did they encounter the woman from Nebraska? And can you talk a little bit more about just logistically finding the locations they're supposed to go to, and what time frame from a call dispatch it takes to get to those?
Time frame varies. A call is nothing like the city of Lincoln and Omaha anywhere. A call will come in through 911, go up through a dispatch center, and then they will find out that they're in the city limits, is out in the county, and then try to find the appropriate. I have City Houston Fire Department liaison sitting with us, as well as the state of Texas that is handling the county outside of the city, and we'll work with those liaisons. Do they have assets of their own, which we like to use the local authority having jurisdiction, use their assets first, and they decide they cannot facilitate a rescue or that. In this case, they knew it was a medical call, but when EMS arrived, said there's no way we can get there due to water. It got rerouted to the closest task force, and Nebraska happened to be that one. The time lag, I couldn't tell you. It depends on, we all know dispatch CAD system. This is a giant metropolitan city, so you can imagine the call volume of a dispatch center, the size of, literally, it's the size of a football field, taking calls to route them certain. So, but I met with Nebraska one last night. I was in theater with them at their booth, talking to them, and they told me they are as efficient as loading and unloading boats as a NASCAR pit crew. So they are getting very efficient, streamlined, knowing how to get them on and off and launch them safely, efficiently, and effectively. They use the term, it's a NASCAR pit crew, just watching them go. And so once they get there, you can go. A lot of it is just by try to go down to that tree down there and go left, and it's a red building over there or something. And so without having any GPS coordinates that they can go by, or lack of any identifiable markers like street signs, building signs, those types of things, it really is kind of a shot in the dark. Or they might just be hailing people, which is might be yelling to see if anybody can hear them. They can hear them back, so on and so forth. If they're gone somewhere, and sometimes they may get directed in by helicopter operations above that might be above them that knows where it's at, and they'll be looking for a helicopter to try to zero them in through that way, through radio communications. So a multitude of avenues and thinking out of the box just to get zeroed in on where you think you need to be.
Hey, Chief, just another question about this. Alicia, Michael Connor with the World Herald. Just a question about Alicia Koenig. So basically, the Nebraska team encountered her on a street there in the Houston area, and they recognized each other because of the logos and so forth. And then she basically gave the rescue team directions to an apartment complex where they rescued or evacuated 40 people. Is that basically it in a nutshell?
Yep, I think she actually saw them and came up to strike the conversation. And one of the rescue managers, who I know has asked the question, "This is where we're trying to go." And she goes,
Yeah.
"Well, yeah, I either live around here. I have not talked to her personally, but was intimately familiar with the area." And basically told them exactly how they needed to get where they were going, which expedited a lot of searching for the correct building or trying to find the route. And they were just able to go from point A to point B, just in a direct line to where they needed to go to get those folks out of the apartment complex.
So the rescue group was needed to find this apartment complex to evacuate 40 people, and she gave them good directions to it.
Exactly. That was their mission. Their mission tasking was to find that apartment complex and evacuate the folks that were left in it.
Yeah. So how would you sort of sum it up? Did she should she kind of step in and just point them in the right direction, basically? Or did she really give them a good boost in getting there faster to help those people?
The way the rescue squad officers, which were Captain Eddie Mueller and Captain Mark Majors, said she pointed and told us exactly where we needed to go. She knew the exact complex, knew exactly how to get there, and they just launched and took off and went right there, straight to it.
So she's a big help, basically.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Jeff Mose from KFOR Radio. Approximately how many people have you rescued since the operations for your team got underway? Do you have a rough number? And how many of the rescues have taken place mainly during the daytime? I know you mentioned earlier in the week that nighttime rescues are pretty difficult.
Yeah, we don't. Our operational periods are ceasing around, depending if you're highly engaged in rescue operations, we're stopping them around 2100 or 9 o'clock in the evening. Just because there is no street lights, there is no power out there, so you really are working in the dark, and working around swift-moving water at night is an added level of risk. So in order to limit the risk profile to the rescuers, to pull them off the water, unless it truly is a life or death and they know exactly where they're going, they almost have a visual on it, then they're good. So with that said, I know they have had a hand in. It's tough to delineate a rescue from an evacuee, depending, and especially when you're operating all hands on deck in blitz mode. They're not really telling numbers. It's just the number of people we are getting out to safety, and they are now approaching not just them specific, but as you can imagine, there's a lot of interaction of teams in the same theater of operation. Have I had a hand, either personally or collectively, with those other teams, just them, over 1,200.
Chief, would that be more than 12? So would it be the best thing to say that the Nebraska Task Force has helped rescue more than 1,200 people? And, since they got down there?
I'd say the first thing would they have either rescued or evacuated over 1,200 individuals and approximately 90 companion animals.
Since they got down there?
Since they arrived in theater, correct. Another fun nugget, if you will, is, which they found amazing, is that this has impacted about 282 miles of coastline, 75 miles inland. So that's the geographic area as of yesterday afternoon that we were dealing with in theater to try to mitigate.
Chief, when they got to the apartment complex, how much water had it taken on, and did they need to provide any medical care to anybody that they were evacuating from there?
To my knowledge, they treat medical. We have medical providers, medical specialists on all the crews that are there, and they're definitely putting hands on to assist those just to evaluate them because they know they've been in a water environment for quite some time. I believe the water was in the 3 to 5 foot area, and most of it is coming up through the first floor and starting to reach the second, which is why individuals can't self-extricate or get down, and they're just going to higher ground. So the boat crews will be bringing them out of an environment in peril in water over to a place of safe haven, and then the medical folks can just evaluate in conjunction with Houston Fire EMS or other providers that are there, just to make sure if they are running out of oxygen and out or have some other medical thing that can assist if need be. So it's kind of a group triage of individuals, if you will.
Chief, I saw Michael Connor with the World Herald. Saw some pictures, I think, of the Nebraska Rescue Group. Were they on actually Interstate 10 down there? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, they backed up. 32, 34. They launched their boat there. They launched it on I-10, and that was the only way to get to where they needed to be. They just stopped, launched the boat, and they are driving the freeway in Houston in a boat. So
they were on yesterday.
Physically on I-10, trying to get down to where they need, and that where they were was roughly around 8 to 10 feet deep.
And were they using, the I-10 to get to some folks they needed to help? Obviously, was that the case?
Correct. That was the only way they could get the water rescue to the other side of there, where they were helping with evacuations.
Any other questions for Chief Abnett?
Can you just tell us a little bit about what you personally will be doing today?
Today, as you know, we have 28 federal task forces working in theater. In some capacity, from 80-person task forces to 14-person strike teams of boats and water assets. And with the constant movement and going back out and coming in, and the water that is coming in on the west coast of Louisiana around Orange City, I believe it is Texas, the San Jacinto River and stuff, we're having difficulty finding road access for task forces to get in. So we're trying to move task forces via airframe, big helicopters, military copters, to be able to try to get them moved in there so they can begin to work, because it's tough to get anybody in there. When you move federal task forces like that in theater in any capacity, there needs to be a command and organizational element that will help assist with getting them there, getting them with the local authorities to find out where is the most need. You try to alleviate taxing the task force with having to do that when they can go and do good work, the great work they're doing, and you bed with their command to try to assist with supplying them, getting them mission assignments where they need to be and coordinate where they need to go. So today may be a lot of movement or aerial flying to find out exactly what is going on so we can get the right resources put in the right spot so they do the most good.
Chief, is everyone on the task force safe and healthy still? Everybody still good?
When I was with them last night, everybody was in awesome spirits. They're doing great work, saving lives, truly saving lives that would have passed away had they not been there. So their spirits are up. No injuries to speak of. Nothing. We have 2 physicians that are with them 24/7. The task force, they evaluate it daily. And I've got no report from Roger Bonine or Brett Davis, our task force leaders at theater, that anybody is having any health issues whatsoever.
I bet they're all looking forward to a hot meal.
I think if I got them a hot meal and the laundry truck set up at that base camp, and that is being handled by a logistics section, and that would be like Christmas Day to them.
Brad, Tom Cassidy here. Echo everything the mayor said earlier, and I wanted to thank you for keeping us all abreast back here in Lincoln with the good tweets. It's great to see those photos and keep in touch with what's going on. So
snap me a photo of one of those MREs and keep up the good work on social media to keep everyone back here in Nebraska informed.
I will absolutely do that, and better yet, I'll bring you one you can enjoy for lunch someday.
Thanks.
Thanks, Chief.
Brad, I think we'll let you go. I think Chief Spain has a couple things he wants to talk about, but we'll let you get back to work.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brad. Thanks, Diane. This is.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Chief Spain. So if we could just ask a little bit of a favor from the media, I think we have a news release coming out here in the next few minutes. But the last 24 hours, we've been getting a lot of requests from, community members wanting to donate. In particular, they want to come volunteer, to help fight fire. We had some that want to donate socks and, dry clothes to the task force. And so we just want to get the word out to people that the task force is very well supplied. They have, clothes and socks, and they are being fed. In fact, they got some nice warm meals coming, hopefully this tour. But if we could just push people to the traditional organizations that take donations, Red Cross, Salvation Army, whatever, that would be great. Lincoln Fire and Rescue is doing fine, working a couple of extra shifts. But in terms of help and supply, we are doing good now. So if we could just push people towards traditional organizations, that would be great. In particular, we have identified for the firefighting community the State Firefighters and Fire Marshals Association of Texas, which is SFFNA, and that organization is specifically trying to target resources for the firefighters and the first responders in the area because they're trying to work, but they've lost their homes also, and so that's one that we're kind of in particular trying to push. But at the end of the day, if you could help us with that, that would be great.
Keith, have we heard any more about anybody else being deployed from here?
Yes, we have deployed extra people over the last 48 hours, but they were called up as part of a peripheral duty, maybe like their reservists with the Guard. One member was part of a disaster medical assistance team that was kind of separate from the task force, and they got called up. So a few little, maybe 3 or 4, I think, of our people have been sent out since then.
Somebody else have any questions for Chief Spain?
Okay.
All right. Well,
I think we'll do this again tomorrow. Is that right, Diane?
Yep, we'll do it again tomorrow, and then I guess we'll talk about how we want to handle next week. Monday is a holiday. I'm sure it won't be a holiday for the responders, so we'll look at whether we need to do something on Monday or not. So
no holidays for the responders, but
no,
we will make it available if that's what we need to do for another media, though.
Okay, we'll let everybody know through email and phone call. So thanks, everybody.
Okay. Thank you.